Bam! Blaze Lloyd, thank you for joining.
Thanks so much for having me. I've been listening to your podcast a lot, and I've loved listening to everyone that you've had on. It's been really good.
Actually, it's funny that you say that because Kata Dervishi came on recently, and then I went to message you on Instagram because I didn't see the rescheduling message that you sent. And I'm like, oh, Kata's following her. And I'm like, wow, that's cool. Like, 'cause I just had Kata on. And, I'm not surprised because Kata is 23 years old, has been building her business for the last 4 years. It's up to multiple millions in ARR. And you're, I guess, like 21 and you're kind of in a similar position.
Yeah, exactly. So we are very similar. Her and I actually talk. She's incredible.
You started, so your company, it's called Lashiivo.
Yeah.
And she, by the way, she is incredible. She puts up 7 videos a day. I told her that on the podcast. I'm like, Kata, you're an animal. 7, I'm lucky if I do 2 or 3 videos a day. She does 7 a day. Crazy.
Yeah, it is very impressive.
Crazy. So, all right, Lashiivo, it's one of the top 10 largest lash supply companies in the world. You started it 5 years ago when you were 16 years old. Mm-hmm. And I like companies like Lashiivo because there's riches and niches, and this is a niche company, and I think that's really cool. Okay, so how much, I know you said you don't want to give the specific numbers, but vague numbers are fine. So around how much revenue are you at? And then what are your margins like? Because if you have a lot of revenue, but terrible margins, it's meaningless.
Yeah, totally. No, we do 7 figures, which has been a huge accomplishment. It was something that I always wanted to be able to do. So that's been a huge goal. And for profitability and our margins on that, the good thing, while I can't give specific numbers, the good thing is that we sell it all in-house. So a lot of beauty brands, when you're selling and you're going through different channels Walmart or Sephora, you lose a lot of your margins. So because we've been able to keep all of the distribution right from our warehouse, we're able to have very good margins for the products that we're able to sell.
Can you give a ballpark? You don't have to give the exact numbers, but a ballpark so people will just be like, okay, 7 figures, and these margins, oh, that's actually nice income.
Yeah, I mean, it's dependent on the product. So we have hundreds of different products. Some of them have lower margins. The lowest margin, is 15%. And we have some products that go up to 60% margins. So it's super dependent on the product.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. So what I want to ask is, I think this is a good question for people. It's, how did you get to a point in your business? Well, I assume right now, I'll ask straight up, your business supports your life fully, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, 100%. All right. So how did you get to a point where this could support where you could get to that point where it could actually support your life? I think that's the hardest part for a lot of people, is getting to a point where they have a business. Maybe they're operating it, maybe they're doing it on the side, or maybe they're full time on it, but it's not fully supporting them. And it's just, if people feel like if I could just get to that point where it can support me and it's stable, I could breathe. And then after that, you can start reinvesting back into the company to make more. But you want to get to that point where it can just support your life and you can just breathe a little bit and it's stable and it's not scary and you have to pay rent every month and you're like, oh my God, how am I going to do this? And you're financially independent. So how did you get to that point with Lashiivo?
Yeah. So for me, the first thing is that I always wanted to have a second income. So a little bit about my story is I actually started doing the eyelash extensions from my parents' spare bedroom. Actually, I'm in their house. So one of their spare bedrooms is where I started doing the eyelash extensions. So I would do clients before school at 6 a.m. I would have clients come. I would go to school all day long. I'd get home at 3:30 and then do clients from 3:30 until 11 o'clock at night. And it was rinse and repeat. So that was basically how I started making money for my business. From there, when I was just graduated grade 12, I opened up our salon. So we have a salon in the city where we do eyelash extensions. We have, 8 lash artists there, and that's a different business. And then a couple of years after that was when I launched Lashiivo, when I realized that there was a huge need for it in the industry. But throughout my entire journey, I've always kind of known that the only way your business grows is when you keep reinvesting into it. And so I think it kind of comes down to two things, which is one, living below my means, because I always wanted to make sure that I could take out as little as possible from the company while still obviously being able to support myself. And just kind of realizing that like, if I want this to grow, I'm going to have to make money somewhere else. So if that means I still have to do the eyelash extensions, I'm going to do that. If that means I need to do, like a side hustle or something like that, I would do whatever it takes to be able to leave as much money in the company as possible. And then once it kind of started to growing and I was ready to start taking money for myself, the first thing is looking and just kind of seeing like, how much am I worth? What is my time worth and how much can I afford to pay myself? I will say like, I am not the best when it comes to financials. I definitely outsource that and rely heavily on, our team and accountants, but it's having conversations with them to make sure that, I'm not going to deplete the company of too much money. And one of my mentors actually told me like very early on that if you're going to be working full time, like you should pay yourself first before you actually pay any other employees. And that's kind of like the small reward that you're give to yourself. So I always started with that, with just like paying myself a little tiny amount and living off of that, and then continuing to grow the company and then giving myself a little bit more. And I really do just treat myself like an employee when it comes to the business.
Kata said the same thing, that she lives below her means. Like, it's just like, I'm like, are you I think I asked her, I said, are you balling out at all? And she's like, no. She's like, no, I don't have time for that. And it's like,
yeah.
How old were you when you had clients coming into the house?
I was 16. Yeah.
Okay. And then you did that for 2 years, and then you started Lashiivo. You started Lashiivo at 18.
Yeah. So I did that for 2 years. Then I opened a salon at 18. And then I did Lashiivo a year later, which was all the product development. And
you're 21 now?
No, I'm actually 24 now.
Oh, you're 24 now. Oh my God. You said, why did I think it would have been? You know why I thought? Because in your email to me, you said you started Lashiivo during the pandemic when you were, I think you said you started it when you were 16 in the pandemic, or maybe I misread.
No, that's okay. I started my like entrepreneurial journey at 16, which was like doing the eyelash extensions. And then, I launched Lashiivo in COVID. Yeah.
Okay. So you started 5 years ago. All right. That's cool.
Yeah.
So you started Lashiivo 5 years ago, and I guess you had an existing go-to-market because you had all these customers and contacts?
Yeah. So I had actually already built up my social media platform. So just when I was like a little baby lash artist in, that spare bedroom, I was still posting every single day, just posting, photos of my work and posting what I was doing. I mean, Instagram, oh my gosh, I think back to it then, it's like totally different than what it is today, but I still just always had it as a goal that I want to post every single day on Instagram. So I forget the exact number, but I'm pretty sure when we launched, I had like maybe 7,000 or 8,000 followers, which was like a really good place to start when I launched my Lashiivo. And on top of that, I had taken a lot of courses from great people in our industry. And so I had those people as contacts that I could leverage because I, knew them. I did a lot of networking, took courses with them. And so, when I launched, it was kind of this perfect combination of I had a small platform, but a platform that people knew me from. And I also had a great, network that could support me. And, they were excited to share about the products as well.
This method of marketing is so effective, I had to make sure it wasn't against Google's rules before I kept doing it. It's a form of SEO I call compact keywords. Whereas most SEO focuses on putting up articles to answer questions how, what, when, compact keywords focuses on putting up dozens of pages that sell to searchers who are actually looking to buy. These pages rank on Google and convert so much better than normal that when I discovered this years ago, I couldn't believe this was allowed. It's less work too. The average compact keywords page is only 415 words. Compact Keywords is a 13-hour deep course on getting sales with SEO. A customer recently said, each lesson is dense with information. You're giving years worth of experience boiled down into 15 to 30-minute lessons with no filler or fluff. I feel like I'm gaining a new superpower. Compact Keywords is about setting up an SEO funnel that brings you sales for years and years and years. It works with AI, it's less work than traditional SEO, and it makes way more money. You can get it now at compactkeywords.com. Back to the podcast. Okay, so you were just sharing your work almost, I don't know, every day or almost every day. Like me and Kata, we're like, we don't miss days. Like I don't miss a day. And you were pretty much doing that, sharing what you were doing, sharing like the lash. I don't even know how to refer to it. Sharing your clients' results and things like that in the salon.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. And it's amazing that you built up that following back. This was before, this was 2020. This is before, I suppose, and you can tell me because I wasn't posting like crazy like I am now on Instagram in 2020. I started at the end of 2022. And so I think it was a lot harder to grow a following at that time.
It was. But I think because I was young, like I just really understood what the young people wanted, and all of the people in our industry, like I was the youngest lash artist in our city and one of the youngest people to enter the entire lash industry. Like probably not anymore, but when I launched Lashiivo, it was like unheard of that someone my age was launching that. And I think it did give me like a competitive edge because I was like, everyone was posting these graphics. Like, I feel like you can probably envision it, but it's like those static graphic posts that are like, buy one, get one free. And it would be like a bottle of adhesive or something. And I was like, people do not want this. Like, nobody is going to buy from that. And so I feel like early on, I just what
do these posts look like?
It's like a Canva graphic, like a really bad template Canva graphic with just like the most basic text, and all these lash brands were posting that as their content.
Was it that the offer wasn't good, or was the content bad, or were they both bad?
Just everything was bad. Like there was no branding for a lot of the brands, so it'd be like a blue static post and then a pink and then a million different fonts and a million different colors, and just like everything was all over the place. And then the offer too, like it was always the same offers, and just like, I don't know, it looked like someone had picked up like a dusty marketing book from 1970 that was like how to sell a product, and they were following that.
What did you do different?
The thing that I did different was like, I remember very early on that storytelling always worked really good. And that's still something that like is huge in what we do today with our, marketing strategy is storytelling, and always trying to be like connecting with our audience through stories. So I remember being very young and always trying to like share stories about like what I'm building or the sets that I'm doing, the clients that I'm working with, my client stories, like why are they coming to me? Why do they want lashes? And then when I started with the salon too, it was like, let me tell the story about why I'm launching the first exclusive lash bar in our city. Let me tell you the story about why I'm hiring this employee and why I like them and why you're going to like them as a consumer. And now still to this day, let me tell you the story about why I picked this specific adhesive or why we ship in this way. Like there's so much stories, and I feel like that really separated us. And it built emotional connection with our audience. They really feel like, I think they know our brand and they know me and they feel a part of the journey, which, I mean, you know so much about that kind of content that, it really helps.
So so did you start Lashiivo? Am I saying, how do I say it? Lashiivo. Okay. So did you start Lashiivo with the same Instagram that you had been posting on for like many years before that? Or did you give it a new Instagram?
No, I actually just used the same one and kind of rebranded it. I was going back and forth. I'm like, should I start a new one? And then in my mind, I was like, well, this one is just going to go to waste if I get rid of it. And I'd rather start with 7,000 followers than no followers. And even if all of these aren't my target audience, which they weren't, a lot of them were just clients, I was like, at least it's some engagement. At least it's something that, I'll get some engagement. Maybe they'll share with a friend and it feels better than starting with nothing. So yeah, I use that same Instagram.
So you have now you have two Instagrams. You have your personal IG and then you have the company one. At the time, was this your personal IG or did you still have two?
I still had two. Yeah, I always
Okay.
separated them. I remember early on, everyone said, like, keep personal and business separate. Have your different Instagram, different bank accounts, different absolutely everything. Keep them separate unless it's very strategic.
So, okay, how long before starting Lashiivo did you start Lashiivo? How long before starting it did you actually start that dedicated Instagram?
Well, I think it would have been probably 4 years because I started at
Wow.
16 and then I launched in 2020. Yeah, so like 3, 4 years.
So you had your personal IG, then you started at 16, you started basically doing client work from your parents' house and you started this second IG for your client work.
Yeah,
And that second IG, I guess you were posting on it daily, is that right?
yeah.
And that over the course of 4 years, without really trying, just kind of sharing, I guess you were also using that to help you get clients and then that helped get people into the salon. And so you were building your go-to-market for 4 years. And then how did you decide to actually launch this company? Was it like you were talking to people and they kept telling you they needed this, or you were able to see some gaps in the market that weren't being satisfied? Like, how did that come about?
Yeah, so I also started training. So I opened up the salon and during that period as well, I had a lot of lash artists reaching out to me saying, or sorry, not lash artists. I had a lot of people reaching out to me saying that they wanted to learn how to do lash extensions. It was a new thing. They were very inspired of like, wait, you've built a business and this seems really fun and like a cool job. So I had people reaching out and they wanted to take a course. So I was training a lot during this period as well. And while I was training them, I noticed that there was always the same common problems, like shipping times were super, super long. If you wanted product, it was crazy. I think it was like 14 days. On top of that, so many product problems, like the lashes. I know you don't really know lashes, so it's pretty niche, but like the lashes would go straight. So the lashes are normally quite curled and the product would go completely straight. So you do this beautiful set of eyelash extensions. And then a week later, your clients would be complaining because they have completely like straight out lashes. Um, the adhesive took a very long time to dry. So with eyelash extensions, you are placing a single eyelash extension on every single one of the natural lashes. So there's 150 lashes on each eye. You're going back and forth and you're doing that 300 times. And that adhesive would take so long to cure that like you would have to place one lash and then sit and hold it for like 3 seconds and then go to the other eye and do the same thing. So it was a super long process. And I remember during that being like, if I could speed this up and make it so that that adhesive cures quickly, that would be game changing. And like if the lashes stayed curled, this would be incredible. So after like figuring out all these problems, I remember I had like a sticky note little pad with like 10 problems that I was like, I have to figure this out. I spent a year doing product development. I like took a million product development courses, hired some consultants. I flew to Korea and I was basically just learning everything that I possibly could about why these things were happening. And then about a year after that, once I had figured out like all of the product development, what makes things work, how I'm going to do this, that's when we were able to launch the products.
Wait, it's okay. How old were you when you're like, I can fix this?
I was 20, just turned 20. My parents were
Wow.
terrified.
That's amazing. Because like, I mean, I don't know what the how to call the exact niche, like women's accessories. Is that
Probably
what it is?
aesthetics, more aesthetics.
Okay. I feel like it's a very lucrative niche. Women spend money. I feel like,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, and so you would think that your competitors know about these problems and are trying to fix these problems, and then there's you, and you're 20 years old, and you're like, I can do this.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's power in like thinking outside the box. And I look back on it and like, I was so naive. Like there was no problem that was too big for me. If someone told me like it's famous words with my parents that they know to never tell me that like I can't or shouldn't do something, because if they tell me that, it's like, it could be the worst idea ever, but I'm like, I'm going to do it. And so I think just like combined with being super naive, I was like, I can fix or do absolutely anything. I'm I'm going to do it. I don't see why I can't.
That's yeah. No, that's the best mindset to have. I mean, everyone should still have that mindset.
Yeah.
Yeah, people lose that mindset over time. It is the best. I think back to starting this podcast, and I'm on this is day 631 in a row doing this podcast. And no one knows how hard it's going to be when they start. They're just like, yeah, I think it'll be fun. I just think about when I started this thing and how it's evolved. But yeah, so you were 20 and you're like, yeah, of course I can. It probably wasn't, of course. It was probably like, the journey will be fun. Let me give it a try and see what happens.
Yeah. And I am super lucky that like my parents have always supported me and said like, at that time, they're like, you live at home. If you lose everything, every dollar in your bank account, it's okay. Like, you're 20 years old. You can restart. You don't have a mortgage. You don't have these things. Like, don't be scared. Like, we're going to support you. And like, if you have to live at home for an extra year until you can move out, who cares? Like, if you lost everything in your bank account, you're still going to be fine because you don't have any huge things. I mean, like, I had a salon. I still have this salon. And of course, like, I couldn't lose that. But they always kind of said, like, you don't have a family and a bunch of like big things that you have to support. So now's the time that you should take all those risks and go all in because you don't have anything to lose. And I was like, okay, you're right. Let's do it.
What was it like? I think it's super cool that you went to Korea to like learn more about your industry. Why did you go, and what was it like? What was it like going? What was that business trip like?
Yeah. I mean, I always knew that like if I was going to do it, I wanted to go there and like see everything for myself. Like, of course, you can find
Why Korea?
Korea is the place. It's just known for beauty. Like, there's a lot of Korean skincare, and it's just known for like that's where all the fibers of the lashes are made. They have really great adhesive. Obviously, like China as well, but China's a little bit. One, I couldn't convince my parents to let me go there at 20 alone, and two, it's just a little bit harder to do business there. I think especially as like, a young 20-year-old. So I was like, let me start with Korea.
You went to Korea at 20 by yourself?
Yeah.
You just hopped on a flight. And I mean, I'm sure you had like, at this point, because you had been building up your audience, you had plenty of contacts there, I'm sure.
Yes, exactly. I mean, actually not anyone that I knew personally, but I had been talking to different manufacturers and like, I knew who I wanted to meet with. I knew what places that like I wanted to go see. So I knew that.
Did you have a guide, or did you kind of have to like figure that all on your own?
Yeah, I figured it all out on my own.
Wow, that's so cool.
Yeah.
That's hardcore. You were 20 and that's amazing. And so then, okay, so what were those meetings like? What was it like for you? Like, I always love these stories when like people's first business trips and like there's so many things that went wrong. So what was it like?
I actually didn't have that much go wrong, thank goodness. It was just like mind blowing. Like, I remember being really little and always watching those like how it's made shows on TV. Like, I don't know why, but the hot dog one always sticks in my head of like how these hot dogs are made. But I remember going and being like, whoa, this is how it's made in real life. Like, I can see like how they actually make the lashes. I can see how the adhesive is made. Like, I can learn everything. And it was just like the coolest experience of my life. And I think that was the first time that I also kind of like really realized the true meaning of like innovation. And I was like, whoa, like I can come somewhere and with the right amount of money or knowledge or people, I can tell them an idea and they can make whatever is in my brain come to real life. And that's crazy. Like, I just remember being like mind blown that I could actually create something from like a vision in my head in real life. And these were the people that could do it.
How are they doing it? Was it 3D printing or like?
I mean, like a lot of it was formulation. So with the adhesive, it was like trying all these different formulations to like speed it up, as well with like our lashes. So all of the lashes came in these like plastic cases and they just were like not very aesthetic. And so I always just had this envision of like a really like sleek, beautiful case that the lashes came in. And I had actually had like multiple dreams about it. And so I remember like writing it down, being like, here's kind of how it looks like, and trying to like hand draw it myself. And I mean, it took a long time, but I think it was like maybe 10 months after that that they were able to develop this specific case. And that was just through doing a mold. But yeah, there was like multiple different things that we were able to innovate and change. And it all kind of came from just asking or revising, iterating products they have, explaining, pros and cons, and obviously like consultants as well.
What is like the total addressable market for, I guess, where you see your company going?
I mean, right now we are just kind of like trying to steadily grow day by day. I think I've kind of had it all where like we grew really fast at the beginning. It was super overwhelming. And I was like, you know what? That's actually not for me. I would way rather steady, continuous growth that's manageable than super fast growth. And I just like don't want anything to get out of hand. There was definitely a point where I was like so burnt out working 70-hour work weeks. I felt like everything was just chaos around me. And I really had to like dial it back and be like, I just want slow, continuous growth. So yeah, I mean, the lash industry is always growing. The market, I mean, every single year is growing, and it's still a new industry. It only really started to boom in, I think, 2010. So we're just kind of riding it out and seeing like, where does the industry go? We're constantly, changing and evolving with the industry. And, our plan is to just continue to grow steadily.
I can imagine that you would blow up, given that you had an existing go-to-market. You knew this was a problem. You were, I guess, like the only company trying to solve it. Maybe there were other companies trying to solve it, but you were thinking outside the box. And so you basically, you had this go-to-market. Oh, also you were doing different branding than it sounds like your competitors were doing. It sounds like your competitors just had ugly, terrible branding. And so you're this like young person. So that makes you stand out already. And you have a go-to-market, and you're doing nice branding, and you're tackling a problem that people actually care about. So it really must have been great when you launched.
Yeah. And I mean, the training portion, like because I was training so many people, I had like so many customer relationships of all of these lash artists that wanted products and they trusted me. It's like, I'm their educator. They see me as that, like authoritative figure. And they're like, if you're coming out with something, I'm going to try it. And yeah, training people and having that huge also amount of customers that weren't customers yet, but I knew were going to buy was instrumental.
All right. So I want to know what is your funnel? What is your marketing funnel like right now? Do you have like, how do you get people into the funnel? Once they get into the funnel, what do you do with them? What sort of automations do you have?
Yeah. So right now, pretty much everything is actually from Instagram. That's our biggest channel. That's where we get majority of our customers. We also do, paid ads and stuff like that. But
wait, so you weren't doing any paid media at the beginning?
No.
Okay. And now you're doing some. Okay. How often are you posting on IG? You said it's your main channel.
Yeah. I mean, I try to post every day, but it usually ends up being like 4 times a week. The thing with us is I feel like we've tried it all. We've tried, kind of just like putting out as much content as possible. We've also tried, upping the quality and posting less. And for us, I find it's like a good in between to post some posts, that's just a product shot or maybe just a photo of a great set of lashes. But also like the quality of videos that I try to post are quite, I don't want to say lengthy, but like very detailed. We do a ton of educational stuff. Like one of our huge pillars is education. And so those videos take a lot longer to like produce, to be able to make sure that everyone understands it at all levels and to like edit. And so, yeah, right now we're posting like 3 to 4 times a week. And then also posting on TikTok, some of the behind the scenes. Right now, we're actually just like trialing a bunch of different content things, which has been so fun for me. I feel like we've kind of found what works and we stuck to that for a little while. And now I'm like, let's shake it up. Like, let's just try posting some different content things. Let's do some behind the scenes, some, TikTok style content, put it on the Instagram story. And that's been working like really well too.
So your best performing content is educational content.
Yeah, hands down.
And you're posting 3 to 4 times a week. And these are reels that you're posting, or are they carousels?
Reels.
Okay. So how many views on average would you say each reel gets?
I would say on average 10,000. Of course, we're going to have our ones that do, 700, 800, 900,000. We have a couple over a million. And then, we have some that just don't hit and they have like 2,000 views. So it's kind of dependent.
No, I like to hear like it's not like that many views because like there's riches and niches, and like the more you niche down, the better it can be. So I think that's really cool. And it's okay, you're making educational content. Do you make content like Kata does with so for anyone listening or watching it, if you don't know who Kata Dervishi is, she has this company called Soulmate Customs where she makes relationship jewelry and relationship clothing, and she gets like an order and she shows the order that she just got and she shows her reaction to the order, and then she shows herself manufacturing the jewelry, and it's literally just like 3 shots. She picks trending music, puts on a caption over the video, and she's like, I can't believe that I just got this order. Here's me making. And it's like, it takes her 3 seconds to make each video, which is super cool. It's basically, I told her this, it's the trend of like build in public, which started with technology on Twitter. And you're now doing it with your e-com business. And so are you making stuff like that?
Yeah.
Or is it very different?
In the beginning, especially, I would pack people's orders on our Instagram story all the time. Like, I think when I started, it was like the first 5, maybe 10 orders of every day. I was like filming me packing them. I would like grab the products and do a voiceover and be like, these are my favorite lashes because of this. Oh, she's gotten this, tweezer. That makes sense because of this. And so like I'd pack everyone's orders on our Instagram story, and people absolutely love that. Yeah, it was huge. So that kind of reminds me of doing that. And then I feel like now it's more series. So like if I'm building a new product, I'll do like a mini series, whether it's on our story or on the feed, of like the behind the scenes of how I'm building it, what I'm building. And I do that just because, unfortunately, now, like, I don't have the time to be posting me packing every single person's story, or every single person's order. But yeah, like doing those things, especially at the beginning, like you have to be scrappy. You have to do all those types of things, to be successful.
Are you also sharing things that went wrong, like learning experiences, like, oh, I messed this up and here's what happened, here's what I learned?
Yeah, that was actually my most recent series, was like mistakes I made in business. And people love that as well, because they're like, what? Like, I thought you had, like, I didn't think you made mistakes. And I'm like, no, like, I make mistakes all the time, constantly, some bigger than others. So yeah, I recently did that one and people really liked it. And I think especially with the landscape of Instagram today, I think people really love authentic, real content that's not super glamorized. Especially in our industry, I feel like there's a lot of like, I don't know how to describe it. A lot of the like, oh, I sell products or I sell courses and I have a salon and I make all this money. And like, here's me getting into my G-Wagon and then going to Pilates. And then I get my Starbucks and then I do one client and then I relax poolside for the rest of the day. And like, people like it, but I think it's refreshing to be like, hey, I spent $10,000 on this order and everything was wrong and it sucks. And that's what's happening.
Yeah, I just think people trust authenticity a lot more.
Yeah, 100%.
So, okay, you're doing a lot of organic content, and you said you're also doing paid media too.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Back to our funnel. So everything comes from Instagram for the most part. Some paid ads, but honestly, because our industry is so niche, like paid ads don't work incredibly well. Like retargeted ads, yes. But to just do awareness ads, it's so hard to target lash artists specifically that you end up wasting a lot of money. And then for us, like we get a lot of conversions, honestly, through DMs of like just helping people. So I'm constantly in our DMs. It's something that I've always tried to like outsource as little as possible, because I feel like those conversations in the DMs with customers is like the most valuable information you're going to get, whether it's knowing what they want, knowing the struggles that they're having, or just being able to help them, I think is like so valuable. So that's where we get a lot of either conversions from or a lot of knowledge on how to convert them and what they're looking for. Yeah. And then obviously like, email, SMS, huge for us too.
before we get into emails, I think a lot of people, they see, I mean, I just personally know a lot of creators who automate all of their DMs. And
Horrible idea.
so yeah, I want to hear, what are some specific stories that you could share with like people DMing you and it just like, maybe you didn't even think it would result in anything. And then it's like, whoa, like how'd that happen? Crazy.
I just am such a firm believer in like what you put out and what you give, you get back. And it's not going to be instantaneous, but I can't even count how many people have come to me with a problem and they're like, hey, I know you don't know me. I know you haven't trained me, but I did this person's lash set and all the lashes fell off. Or I did something and like, this is the problem. And I'm like, hey, yeah, let me help you. Like, I will send you a voice note while I'm driving to work. I will, like, whatever it is, I'll help you. I don't care if you're a customer, even if you're using someone else's product, like, I will try and help you because it just feels like important to me. And so many of those people, they're maybe not purchasing at the beginning, but then it's like 2 months later, that's when they're purchasing from us. 3 months later, maybe even 12 months. Like, I've had people that I'm like in my head, like, okay, I've helped you a lot and you're not trying our products, like, please. Then 12 months later, you know, they always kind of end up coming back because they get the help and support from us that they're not getting from another company. So there's definitely that. There's other times where I've had people in our DMs be like, I am dying for this product. You guys don't sell it. A different place does, but I want to support you. What are the chances? And I'm like, hey, like, that's a great idea. Let me try and work on that. Like, let me run it by the team and see how we can make that happen. Or things I don't know about where, because I'm so close with our audience, at least I like to think, that there'll be problems where they're like, hey, I know this isn't your fault, but like, I got my order and it didn't have like the stickers in it. And like, I don't want to complain. I don't want to reach out to customer service, but like, is there anything you can do? And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, absolutely. Like, let me add the stickers in, or like, let me give you a free product or whatever. So it's interesting. Like, we have people come to us and they're like, I'm sad and having a hard day. Can you help me? And I'm like, yeah, like, let me put on my therapist hat. But I think it's just really built our community.
I feel that so much. When I started this show, I used to say like, and I think we said this at the beginning. Everything takes longer than you think it's going to take, and that I literally make entire episodes of the podcast on just how people need multiple touch points, and like personally, I have seen so many times exactly what you said. It takes people 2 months to convert, 4 months to convert, 6 months to convert, even 12 months to convert. People they're like about to buy it and then something happens and they get distracted. And then a week later, they're reminded, they go again and nope, they get distracted again. And just that keeps happening. And then finally, after like a few weeks of being bombarded, they're like, okay, I'm going to get this. And then as you're doing that, you're building up your funnel. You're building up connections with other people. You're strengthening the marketing that you have and reinvesting into the company and becoming more efficient. So, okay, so you're also doing email marketing, which is great. What's your list like?
Or like the email list that we have for like numbers? Yeah.
Yeah.
We have, I haven't actually checked in a long time. We have over 30,000, I think was the last time that I checked, but it's always growing. And actually what was crazy is a year in, we actually lost our entire email list. We were with a different provider and all of a sudden we like got locked out. I did the forget my password, tried to get back in. There was no customer service. There was nothing. Still to this day, I've been like trying to reach out to them and like there's nothing. Like there's no way we can get back into it.
What's the email provider so people can stay away from them?
I don't want to share because I want them to like help me first.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
And so I'm I'm going to keep it private until I decide.
Is it a major? Is it like a major one?
No, it was a mistake. Like I shouldn't have went with them. It was like
no. I mean, is it a well-known? Okay, so it was like a small one.
Yeah, it's not one of the big ones, which is why I shouldn't have gone with them at the beginning. Like I think it was like a free, like you could send. I don't remember what it was. Maybe like your first 1,000 emails were free. The cost to send emails was super inexpensive. And of course, I'm like young, I'm bootstrapping. I'm like, sure, like how important is email? Like I just need a provider that can like send it out and just like keep the contacts. And then I quickly realized email is very important actually. Yeah. So anyways, that
It's great.
sucked.
It's great that you share that because I have so many automations at this point, and one of my automations that I put in from day one was just when somebody signs up to my newsletter, I also just add them to a Google form. So just like I have that like elsewhere as well because like
So
things like that
important.
happen. Yeah, that's crazy though. So wait, how long did it take you to get to 30,000?
That was, I want to say probably like 3 years,
Okay.
3 years.
What was it? Wait, what was the list at when you lost it?
I want to say it actually had like 10,000 because we did really good with having
Wow.
pre-sales. Like we had people that we'd give like freebies to, and I like worked so hard to build our email list up at the beginning in the like 12, maybe like 10 months before we launched. So yeah, I want to say it had like 8 to 10,000 people on it that we lost.
All right, so you lose actually I'm just curious like I think if you're an entrepreneur you probably do think about like possible disaster scenarios. So okay,
Yeah.
this happens, you lose the list. How do you what messages do you put out? Because now you don't have the list. So it's not like you can email everyone and be like, hey, I lost your emails. You don't know where they are. So I guess you're posting on IG primarily, and then you're like, or maybe you also have like emails from people who've ordered with you in the past. So how
Yeah.
are you building that list back up and getting people that you lost?
Yeah. So we're still on Shopify. And I mean, on Shopify, at least you can see each of the customers' profiles. You can also see if they've subscribed to email marketing. And so we were able to like export some from there. We were able to like manually do some of the work. And I'm pretty sure that we did get quite a few of them back. But of course, like at the beginning, like I was saying, we were doing a lot of opt-in stuff. So like they weren't customers that were giving us their emails. It was like we were giving them a PDF. They were putting in their email and they'd get a free PDF or they'd get something in return, like that kind of stuff. So I think we ended up losing a lot of those people, but at least we did have like our main customer list on Shopify that we could go through and like extract, but it was so much work. It was ridiculous.
Do you still have a Tripwire offer?
We do on and off. So we don't have one like currently, but we'll always like usually once every 2 or 3 months, we do a free something. So like a free PDF. I've actually, speaking of automations, I've actually really been liking doing the like comment a emoji or comment a phrase and you get something. So once in a while, we'll definitely do PDFs or freebies or resources or stuff like that through those automations, which is really cool.
Are you just using ManyChat?
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone loves ManyChat. So people comment and then you don't use ManyChat for DMs or I guess you would, right? ManyChat hits them up in the DM. Actually, so ManyChat is on my list of to-dos. I have this crazy list of to-dos. And I had somebody on last week and he uses ManyChat a ton and he just misses all of his DMs because ManyChat floods his DMs.
Yeah. So we have it set up so that it only sends them the one automation when they comment the emoji or when they comment whatever phrase that we've inputted, but I don't use it for like customer service. I don't have it set up so that when someone says, hey, can you help me with this, that it automatically sends them something. It's only the one time when they're essentially asking for it.
So it responds only in the comments.
Yes.
And it doesn't respond in DMs. And so,
No.
Okay, so basically I suppose like you say comment, oh, this is cool. So you say like comment this emoji and you can get this PDF. And so someone comments the emoji, they get a link to, I suppose it's like an email opt-in, and then they have to email opt-in in order to get the PDF.
Yep.
Okay. And do you like, so I know people who don't do this and it's like, I'm not judging. I'm actually just personally curious. Do you say like, this is going to opt you into our email list? Or do you just say like, give your email and we'll email you the PDF?
There's like a little like disclaimer at the bottom of it that says like, this also opts you into the email list. Yeah. So there is a disclaimer on it.
Do you have a welcome email for those people?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So people pretty much, how many days or like hours after somebody opts in, after somebody subscribes, do they get this welcome email?
I think it's 12 hours.
Okay, cool. So someone subscribes, they get the they get the PDF immediately, and then 12 hours later, they get the welcome email.
Yeah, exactly.
And then how frequent is your newsletter?
I feel like not that frequent compared to a lot of other people. Like every 2 weeks we send something out, but I'm definitely not like, we don't bombard people. Probably should do it more. But yeah, like we don't do that much. If anything, like especially sales, I'm like, if you're going to send an email, I don't want to be sending a million, like buy this, buy this, buy that. A lot of the times it's free resources, or yeah, once every 2 weeks we send like a sale, or if it's something like we're launching a new product or we're doing something cool. But for just like your typical sales emails, once every 2 weeks.
Okay, so you send sales emails once every 2 weeks, but how about just like helpful email? I mean, is that I don't know what your list is, what you're trying to give people in your newsletter.
Yeah. So like once a week, we'll send an email newsletter with like a resource, or something like that. That's educational, something that they can use, or like an update, whatever it may be. And then yeah, sales every like 2 weeks. So I guess we're sending something every week, but not a ton. I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs I talk to are like, we send something every single day. Like that's our main channel of making money, which is understandable. But for us, I'm like, I don't know. It doesn't feel right for me to be able to do that. I like how it is right now, and I feel like it's working. So I'm kind of just like leaving that.
Okay, so you send out an educational resource once a week, and then
Yeah.
And then once every 2 weeks you send out like literally just a dedicated, hey, like buy this, it's going to be worth it.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, cool. Very cool. And you don't even want to really go much deeper on email because like Instagram is such a better channel for you.
Yeah, exactly. Like Instagram is just, yeah, way better for us. That's where I put, most of our focus and energy. And I mean, at the end of the day, we're still, a smaller size company. Obviously, as we continue to grow, hopefully, we can invest a lot more into email. But for right now, the time and energy for marketing is definitely going into partnerships and Instagram for the most part.
When you were getting mentored before starting the company, what were some of the biggest things that you learned that still stick with you? Because you were paying for consulting and mentoring. So like, what were some of those lessons that you paid for that you're like, oh, I'm so glad I paid for this?
Yeah. I feel like a lot of them were very like individual, tangible things where I'm like, I am at this roadblock. Help me with this roadblock. But I'm trying to think of like overarching themes. I mean, one was definitely financials, where like it was always just like driven into my head that like you need to know your financials better than anyone else, especially because I feel like there was two people. There was like the people that were like, what you're not good at, delegate. And then the other people that were like, you cannot delegate your financials. You need to know it better than those people or know exactly what to be able to ask for. And that's been really big for me. It's just like at every single point of every single day, knowing, where we stand. And I talk to so many business owners and it's like, they don't know on a month to month what a profit and loss. They don't know how to read a profit and loss. They don't know exactly how much they're making or how much they're spending. They don't know if they can afford to hire a new employee, like all those things. So that was something that like I'm still always learning and growing and figuring out, but was always like known at the very beginning was like, do that, get a good accountant, don't screw up your taxes, like stay on top of this stuff. I'm trying to think of like, what were the other big things that I was learned? I guess another like big thing was, hiring. Like you can't do everything yourself. And so I definitely made that mistake where I was like, I don't want to spend money. I want to try and keep it like in the business and put it more into products. Like I don't want to hire that many people. And I burnt out super, super quick. So that was something that like pretty early on, I realized like I need to make sure that I am hiring people to be able to continue to grow and to create systems, because I can't just be doing absolutely everything because everything will fall in.
How long after starting did you hire your first person?
I mean, my first person was someone to just help me pack orders. And I think that was probably like a month in that we had that person.
Right, because you blew up immediately.
Yeah. So that was probably our first person. And then after that, it was a lot of freelancers, like just using, Upwork, Fiverr, recommendations of freelancers that I could use to help with different things. So yeah, that was kind of like how I started hiring people.
I think the story, the biggest part of this story, if you're listening and maybe you haven't started anything yet, is you can just post what you are doing in your work every day and build up an audience to eventually launch to. Maybe you have like a full-time job, or maybe you're a consultant or a freelancer, whatever it is. So many people have been saying this for years, but it's just so true. It's like, post what you are doing every day. You don't even have to spend that much time on it. Literally, Matt Diamante, another SEO, he came on the show last week. He has, I think, 260,000 followers on IG posting SEO content. And he's one of the most followed SEO people on IG, and him and me. And like, he took his agency from, I think it was at like $500,000 a year to $2 million a year just from posting on Instagram. And it's just share what you're doing. You don't even have to, and when you start, you don't even have to like put in a lot of work into production. And you literally can just share, hey, like, this is what I did today, and you'll get better over time. Actually, what are some of the content learning points that you got? Like, how did you start making content and you're like, okay, this doesn't work, I need to change it up. For me, one of the biggest learning points was it took me like, I think 3 months after starting to just learn how important hooks are and that I need to focus on hooks in my content.
That was the first one that came to my mind as well. Yeah. Another one that I...
How long did it take you to learn that?
Hooks? I mean, I feel like hooks, because when I started, it wasn't even like, reels weren't even on Instagram. Like, it was only static posts when I started. So I feel like I started to learn hooks like maybe 10 months after reels became a thing. Because I think when reels first started, it was like video content. Like, people were almost treating it like YouTube. So I remember I had this little like YouTube-ish era that was like the IG. Actually, it was called IGTV. Do you remember that?
I do remember that.
Yeah. So I was doing like the IGTV, and then that transitioned into reels. And I want to say that it was like maybe, 10 months after like the reels that we know today, I started to realize like, I can't just open up with like something boring. Like, I need a good hook. And another like huge learning point for me was to stop narrating my videos. So if I was doing like a day in the life, or if I was doing a tutorial on me doing lashes, when I would film the voiceover, it felt so natural for me to narrate it and be like, so I woke up this morning and I did this and I did that. But it's like, the person can see that. It's really boring when you're narrating what someone's watching. So I learned actually, pretty recently that like the best thing you can do is add more context. So instead of saying like, I woke up and went to the gym, it's like, I got up at the gym, I decided to do this, this, and this because I was sore and I actually wanted to do this exercise, but I ended up doing this because I was sore. Or like, why did you choose to do that exercise? Or if it's a tutorial with lash extensions, instead of saying, I placed a lash here and then I did this lash over here, saying, why? Like, I chose to do the longest length on this because this client wears glasses, and if I do too long, they're going to rub on the glasses and it's going to bother her. So adding context, I feel like, really helped with our content.
What are some of your best hooks?
The best hooks that I have used? Mistakes. I feel like the negative hooks, like, people really like that. So like, mistakes I've made, or like, don't do this if you want, something else. I feel like anything that's kind of like a negative hook does best, even though I'm a positive person. So I would way rather like do the like better hooks. The negative ones perform a lot better.
That's the funny thing about people like us, is that like, we are, in order to really make it just as an entrepreneur, you have to be crazy optimistic and positive. Yeah. Because it is so hard. Like, you have to be like really optimistic. But the content that does best, it's negative hooks. I made so many episodes of this podcast where it's like, oh my God, I like this reel, this TikTok totally flopped. And then I just changed the hook and I made it negative. Like, I'm like, this is going to be the best thing ever to happen to SEO. And then I'm like, you know what? I say the same exact thing, but I open it with, this is the worst thing ever to happen to SEO. And it's so much better. It's like negative hooks number one, and then negative hooks. Yeah. Crazy.
You've noticed the same thing?
Everyone's noticed it. Negative hooks are, people respond to the negative. But we want to be positive. We want to share how we actually feel. Authenticity is important, but it's like negative or also surprised.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think everyone has this experience where it's so frustrating because you want to be positive, but like, yeah, the negative hooks, though, that's what pops.
I mean, I guess it kind of makes sense. Like, you even look at the news and it's like, if you went on the news and saw a story of like, this person did all these great things, no one would care. But then it's like, the world is ending, like this crazy thing's happening, and everyone's like freaking out about it, which, I don't know if it's the best strategy, but it definitely works. Like, that's what people click into. That's what people watch. That's what people, are interested in.
There was I studied journalism, and in addition to television and film and marketing, there was an expression, if it bleeds, it leads, which is like, it's so true. All right. Okay. I have a kind of hard question for you. You're starting again in 2025, you have the same amount of capital. I guess you pretty much, you made your own money because you had clients. So I don't even know, like I had this question, but I'm trying to figure out how to phrase it. But you're starting again in 2025. You know what? Let's say you're staying at home, but you don't really have capital to invest in this business. So, okay. Yeah. You're starting again in 2025. You don't have the same amount. You're just like, you don't really have anything to invest in this business, but you have like a loving family and you have a nice place to live, which is your house. And you also know what you know now. So you're starting again and you know what you know now. And so you at least have that benefit of knowing all the things that you did wrong and all of those lessons. So my question is, you're starting again, like what mistakes do you avoid? And what do you do? Because everyone can get to where they got to a lot faster, and it usually takes years of mistakes. So yeah, what mistakes do you avoid, and what do you do differently?
I think what I would do differently, or maybe not specifically differently, but I think the first thing that's so important is having a platform. So like, I would definitely make sure that, and even me with Lashiivo, I think I would have developed the platform a little bit more. Like, I rebranded to Lashiivo and then launched our products like 2 days later. Like, that was part of my like plan. And I think now I would have like rebranded it a lot sooner and then spent like multiple months actually explaining like, what is the new brand and like, what is all of this? So I think building the platform is the first like huge thing, is like posting and build something up to launch to, because you don't want to be launching to nobody. Like, that is just not going to be good. I think the second thing that I would do differently is launch one product. So when I launched multiple products at once. I launched the lashes and the tweezers and the adhesive, like a full line. And I wish that I would have just like launched one specific product. And I think a lot of people make that mistake where they do almost too much at the beginning. Like, I think it's so important to just find one good product. And then before you even bring it in, like, do a pre-sale. See if you have interest. Like, I see so many entrepreneurs that they don't market test. They just like find something they like and then they buy, 5,000, 10,000 units of it, and then they can't move it. So it's like, have an audience and then pre-sale it. Make sure that people actually want it, because you can always refund someone for a pre-sale and give them their money back. But if you have 10,000 units of something and no one wants it, what are you going to do? So I would definitely do like a pre-sale for sure. And I'm trying to think what else. I mean, I guess your network is really big too. Like, have, a whole list of people that you can like send your product to and you can get to talk about you. And, influencers are also really big right now. Not necessarily in my industry, but I see that a lot. Like, if you can make connections to a couple key influencers, I think that would like substantially, blow your business further than if you don't have those.
Okay, but you're starting again. You don't have that existing audience. So like you said, you would start the company and then just spend months explaining what it is. So yeah. What type of content would you make there? This would be, I guess, Instagram. That's your favorite channel. You
Yep.
would probably have an email list and you would back up those emails.
Yep.
And yeah. And so, yeah, what type of content would you make? What would your automations look like? Yeah.
I would definitely do building content. So I would like document every single day. Like, I mean, ChatGPT would help you out with this, but like I would do a video of like, today is day one of building X company. You see this a lot on Instagram, but like day one of building X company. Today I need to figure out a business name. Here's how I came up with 10 different business names. What do you guys think is the best name out of all of these? And then like go to the next thing. Okay, now today and maybe not like specifically the name if you want that to be a surprise, but like now I'm developing the color palette. These are my 5 options. Like I think if you could build a brand that like is chosen by customers and by people that are following you, that you would be so well established by the time you actually launched.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. So what, like when you're like, this is day, I do see those, but I'm like, a lot of this, I don't know. I personally think like a lot of those hooks are terrible. Like this is day 3 of building a business in public, but like instead it's like, I just effed up crazy. And that's like way better than saying this is day 3 of building in public. I made a mistake. Instead, you started with like, yeah. So would you be like making stuff like that?
I would still definitely probably make use of like some negative hooks because like we know they just perform better. But I think the concept of what those people do, like the concept of like they're showing, 90 days straight of like every single part, maybe not every part, but a lot of the key parts of building their business, showing that on Instagram, but maybe just like rephrasing it so that it's not as boring.
Yeah. Yeah. And so you're posting every day, at least once a day.
Yeah.
What tools are you using to actually make the content?
To make the content?
Yeah.
I mean, to edit, I love CapCut. I think that like if you're not using CapCut to edit Instagram Reels, like it's seriously life-changing, and TikTok too. But I think TikToks are a little bit easier to edit. But yeah, I would definitely use CapCut. Obviously, like have an iPhone, have a good or at least a good camera. Make sure you have like good sound quality, microphone if you can with the videos. Tripods, like we have a whole thing of like multiple tripods, all the different lights, good lighting, all that kind of stuff. And then edit on CapCut. And the good thing is in today's day and age, there's so much free education. Like if you want to know how to edit a really good reel, like go on YouTube. If you want to know how to have the perfect camera setup, go on YouTube. Like there is everything you could ever need to start a business. It's just like figuring out, what it is, looking up, putting in the time, and then executing. Like we have so much education that almost I feel like makes it hard to execute because there's so much.
The execution is the hardest part for a lot of people. Actually, so if you're starting again, what are you not focusing on? What are you ignoring? Like the biggest mistakes that people make is they spend so much time on things that they don't need to be spending time on. And you probably did that too when you were starting.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I think it's important to keep in mind the concept of MVP. Like what is that minimum viable product? I think you can get so carried away on like a mold that's $20,000 and the perfect packaging and the perfect everything and like these super expensive shipping boxes. And while it's glamorous and while it's, nice to have that, I think at the beginning, it's so important to just like stick with that minimum viable product, make sure that people love it, make sure that it is something that like is actually wanted and get it out there as like fast and quick as possible. And then worry about all of those, like making it pretty and all those things after. Like, obviously don't just launch something with like a logo on it that's ugly, but don't get carried away.
Is that a mistake that you made? Is that you spent too much time in product development and not launching?
Yes and no. Like, I don't regret it because it set us apart. And everyone at the time wasn't really branding and wasn't really marketing. So I would say at that time, no. But even now, like, you could launch a product in 2 months or in 2 years, just depending on like how deep you want to go with it. And I would say I'm a bit of a perfectionist. So for me, like I am still constantly reminding myself that like we can launch it as is. We don't need to like do this crazy concept that's going to take 2 years because at that point, the product people might not even want or everyone's already going to be selling it. So there is kind of like this in between and finding that sweet spot. But I see a lot of entrepreneurs, do that. And I do coach quite a few entrepreneurs now in my side time. And that's a common thing that I hear is just like, I want to launch this, but like the website, they get hung up on the website. I'm like, if people want a product, they will buy it on a website that's not absolutely perfect. Like, obviously it needs to be good. It needs to be secure. I don't want it to look sketchy, but you don't need to spend $30,000 on a website. Like, you can put in a template into Shopify that looks good and like have a website done in 2 days. Don't need to spend $20,000 on it.
So actually, I think that's a good segue into like mistakes that you made with marketing. Like, what are some things that you wasted time with? And I think lots of marketing channels can work, but there are some that just are easier for people depending on their skill sets. What are some areas in marketing that you wasted time on that you just like, yeah, didn't need that, or like I need to revisit that with a consultant who actually knows what they're doing?
Yeah. I would say for us, like at the beginning, started working with influencers, and same thing. I think it was kind of a mistake because I left everything up to them. So we were sending a lot of product, and like the videos we were getting just weren't really great. They weren't super passionate about the products. And I very quickly realized like our community is what's most important. The people that like actually want to try our products, if I send them it's going to be so much more impactful than like this person that already likes a different brand, isn't even interested in switching, and then creates not that good of content. And so that was like a huge waste, I think, of marketing budget. But I just had it in my head that like, I want everyone talking about it. So let me just get the product out to all those people, when I didn't realize like the most important thing is just like us as a brand, us as a community, like me showing up. We don't necessarily need all these influencers to be talking about us because we already have this great community supporting us. So that was definitely one mistake that I made. Trying to think of what else. At the time, like product photography was super expensive, like $100 for a single photo that you would post on Instagram. And again, like I don't regret it, but I'm so glad now that there's reels. And it's like now we post some like product photography, but you don't need to be doing that. Like people convert just as well from like a reel of you talking about the product, showing the product, educating about the product, than they would from just like a still photo of it.
You're speaking facts. I like actually think it's so great that you said the influencer thing is being a mistake, because that is such a common mistake. I know so many people, that is such a common mistake, who instead of actually building their funnel, either doing SEO, doing organic social like you're doing, they're like, I need to get this into the hands of influencers. And then they spend time and money getting into the hands of influencers who aren't even passionate about the product. Influencer marketing works best when the influencer likes the product. That's when it's actually going to work. I'm the most successful affiliate, or I'm like the biggest affiliate for two companies, for reusevideo.com, which is really repurpose.io, and for AIpodcastmatcher.com, which is really podmatch.com. And for repurpose.io, I am like maybe their biggest power user. And for AI, for Podmatch, before I started on TikTok, I used Podmatch to go on 30 podcasts in 3 months. I'm like, this is amazing. And in fact, I wouldn't have started on TikTok if I hadn't been going on podcasts. And podcast hosts were like, you're great. You should be on social media, or you should be doing this. And just having personally used it and loved it. I can't even tell you how many other product videos I've made that have gone viral because I loved the product. But like so many times I see this from friends who will try to get their products into the hands of influencers, and they'll do it, but the influencers don't care. And then the stuff just flops. And instead, then they finally start actually building up their own audiences, and it's so much better. Oh my God, it's such a common mistake.
Yeah, and you can see right through it. Like even as a consumer, when I'm just scrolling on TikTok, it's like when I see someone do a partnership and it's like, I know that this influencer doesn't use this product. I know they don't wear these clothes. I know it feels so inauthentic. And I think, yeah, in today's day and age, like we crave authenticity and we know what's real and what's not so quick.
Yeah. Another reason that influencer marketing can work if the influencer cares, it's because if you're like an influencer, which is really just someone who puts out a lot of content, you constantly need sources for your subject matter. And it's like you're going to make subject matter about what you like, what's interesting to you. That's just how we're wired as humans. And so, in fact, for both repurpose.io and for Podmatch, I made multiple videos about them that didn't go viral. But these are two tools that I love and that I use all the time, and I need subject matter. So then I made more and more content. And then eventually one pops off, and that one goes so viral that it just like makes me skyrocket ahead of everybody else. The other thing is I also do think there's a story that I really like, and I don't remember these two women their names, but they started an alcohol brand, and maybe you know that they started an alcohol brand in, I think, the UK, and they were going up against like Diageo and all these like major players, and they both were full-time at some big companies. And they, like, on the side, they were building this alcohol brand. I think they got the recipe. They went to like Mexico for a vacation. They got this recipe. It was like a low sugar type of like drink that no one was serving in the UK. And they're like, this is amazing. We think this could pop off. So they're building this on the side. And when they launch it, they do something really incredible. They know the influencers in their space, but they ran out of money at that point. They don't have money to actually give to the influencers, and they don't even have money to really continue on production. They have just enough money for this launch. And what they do is I think they had like 25 influencers, and they make really nice gift baskets. And each gift basket has their drink, and they make it like really Instagrammable. So it's like you're an influencer, you get this really, and then I think they hand delivered it as well. So they go to the influencers' homes. They have these nice gift baskets with their items. They make it super Instagrammable. So you get it and you can show, like, I just got this. You're already feeling good because these two very nice young women are delivering this to you with their big smiles to your home. And it's a nice thing that looks great on Instagram. And that made the influencers care. That made them happy. It gave them this experience that they can make multiple pieces of content about. That's actually a way to do influencer marketing right. But also like very important to say, keeping in mind that you can't be spending, like, this was like they were almost out of money. So this was like the amount of money was negligible. But I also know people who like they have actually enough runway for many, many months, and then they use all of that runway on one influencer campaign with no experience with influencers, and that flops. So like, don't do it like that. It like literally what they did is very low cost to actually make these gift baskets and then go and like hand deliver the items was very, very low cost. And that's a budget friendly way to make people with big audiences care. That story I thought was so inspiring. I don't know if you've heard that before. Yeah.
No, I actually haven't, but like that's incredible. That's super smart.
It was so, and then, oh my gosh. So they do this, it works out. They make a video about this on TikTok, and that video gets like 10 million views. So yeah, so they turned the successful influencer campaign into more viral content. And that's like, so yeah, and they're killing it. Like they're like alcohol that they started, just the two of them, like they're full time on it. They're making a lot. They're in all these, I think they're in like the biggest luxury stores in the UK. They're crushing. And that was like, I loved that story so much. And that's a way to make them care.
I'm going to have to go read up on that because that sounds incredible.
I don't remember. I wish I could remember their names. I'm going to actually just search right now. I might be able to find it in like 5 seconds if I just search alcohol. No. Okay. I can't find it. I'll put that in the show notes, and I'll send that to you after. Blaze, where can everybody find you?
On Instagram at Blaze Lloyd, or on our Lashiivo Instagram at Lashiivo, which is Lash-IIVO.
Cool. Thank you again for coming on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. It's so much fun.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for being here. This was really great. So everybody, this is episode, like I said, 631 of The Edward Show. This is my daily digital marketing show, 631 days in a row doing this thing. Pretty crazy.
That's impressive beyond belief.
It's exhausting.
Wow.
But it's a lot of fun. It's actually I'm starting to get like I wasn't focusing on guests for the first year and a half of this show. And now that my product Compact Keywords is out, so like I actually have something to give to people who watch my stuff. Now I'm going hard on it. And I just booked a huge, I don't want to say who it is, but it's one of the, like I talk about search engine optimization all the time on the show. And it is maybe the biggest person in search engine optimization, or like, if not the biggest, then the second biggest. There's like, he might be the biggest. And I just got him on the show. He'll be coming on in May. But like, I'm like, that's crazy. Like,
Congrats.
I learned SEO from this person 10 years ago. I mean, so many people learned SEO from this person 10 years ago, made one of the biggest SEO pieces of software. I mean, I'm kind of like revealing who this person, I can't believe that I got this person on my show. It's, yeah. And I'm getting like there's so many other big people now who are coming on. And it's like, I just built this every day for years. It's intense.
Yeah, I remember someone actually recently told me, they're like, you always have people cheering you on at the beginning when you launch a business. Like that's like, you get all this hype at the beginning and you always have people at the end, if you exit, like you get all this hype. And it's like in the middle when all the work is and like all the pain and all the struggle that like you don't really have, you don't have the support, but it's like not the same. And that's when you like need it. No, and that's when you kind of like need it the most. And I feel like that's like where you are, you're just like grinding it out and like crushing it. And you're like in this incredible, amazing in-between phase, which is awesome.
I would say, yes, it's like starting to go really well. And there were other points where like it spikes up and down, it goes well, it doesn't. I think that there's fluctuations in anything. But actually, one story that I really like to give is when I started on TikTok and Instagram. This was like, I guess, maybe 6 months into posting every day. And it was the summer of 2023. And I just hit this 3-month plateau. And I actually, imagine like people know me and people say now that I'm an influencer, which is like weird to hear because I'm still Edward. But like I'm now like an influencer. That's what people tell me. And this was summer of 2023. And I hadn't figured out Instagram. So I think I had like 2,500 followers on Instagram. At this point, I had maybe 30 or 40,000 followers on TikTok, but TikTok followers they're not as strong as Instagram followers. Like if you have 30,000 followers on Instagram, people will be engaging with you way more. The community on Instagram is a lot better. And so I have like no Instagram following, and I have a TikTok following that doesn't matter that much. And for 3 months in the summer of 2023, I just stagnate. I don't have that many hits. I'm growing very slowly over the course of all those 3 months. I'm still not figuring out Instagram. And like that was, I have these memories like of just like walking around New York, which is where I'm from, and being like, is this worth it? Should I continue this? Like, it's so much work. And the thing that got me past that phrase was like, I always believe that no one is so dumb that if they stick with something for years, they're not going to figure it out. That's what got me past it. Whereas I just had to remind myself, no, you're eventually going to figure it out. Everyone eventually figures it out. Like you're going to have like after a trial and error for enough time, you'll eventually get it. And you know what it was? It was 2 things. So like if you look at my growth, I have these spikes where I'll have like a lesson and then I'll spike up. And then I'll stagnate for a little bit and I'll have another lesson, I'll spike up. So there were these 2 spikes. One was that I started editing my content in Descript, which was a complete game changer. Do you know Descript?
No, I actually don't.
Okay. Descript is one of the most amazing tools. It's how I will edit this podcast. So this podcast is going to come out tomorrow. This podcast.
Oh, your turnaround is so fast.
Well, let me tell you what it's like. So Descript bought Squadcast, which is how we are recording this. And so I will just take this, and I don't even need to use Squadcast, but it's helpful. I will just take our video. It'll sync up in Descript, and then I literally with one click, it uses AI to shift between the cameras for both of us, for whoever is speaking. And then it has cutaways too, just to make it more dynamic. So it'll automatically put in cutaways. And so you'll see it tomorrow, and it'll be like really well edited, all AI with one click. That's number one. But like when I'm making videos for TikTok and Instagram, this is what Descript does. So I can just speak to my phone for maybe 10 minutes, recording a script or something. And then Descript, or it's not a script and I'm just speaking off the cuff. Descript removes all the gaps between words. Any gap between words that's like over a fourth of a second, I just choose to make it 0 seconds. So right away, it's just bum, 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 bum. Then with one click, you can remove all the retakes. So if you say a word like 3 times, if you say a line 3 times in a row, one click, that gets removed. Then you put in captions. You also have an eye tracking. So I do this all the time. I'll read a script, but then the AI will make it look like I'm looking at the camera. And that has in green screen. So I use the green screen. I put myself in front of things. It syncs up the media. That was huge too. It syncs up the media. You have to basically put in the media that you want, and then you just sync it up to the cuts in the video. And so I started using Descript. It became my content quality went way up, and it also became like way easier to make that. And so right away, like that was after that 3-month plateau, that was something that I figured out on a whim. I think I was really frustrated, and I remembered that I had heard about this tool Descript, and I'm like, why don't I just try this thing? And then like that literally was game changing. It like changed my game. And then the other thing was that I had been using repurpose.io to automatically have my TikToks come out to Instagram Reels. Now you can do that and there won't be any suppression of reach. But at the time, Meta suppressed the content that came out with shared IP addresses. And have you heard of repurpose.io?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So if for anyone who hasn't heard, repurpose.io just makes it so you put out a content on platform X, and then it comes out to all the other platforms. So you put it out on Instagram, and it'll come out everywhere else. In fact, I have all of my videos on TikTok backed up to Google Drive, and I repost them all the time. It's just very valuable to have that backup. And so I would use TikTok to have my videos come out on Instagram, but Instagram hated that. And this was the case for me and all of my friends. All of our videos were getting suppressed in reach from this automation on Instagram. And so around the same time that it was so crazy, it was so crazy, Blaze. Around the same time that I found Descript and that my content completely changed, I think repurpose.io went down for like a few hours, and I'm like, all right, I'm just going to post it manually to Instagram. So I posted it manually to Instagram, and it did so much better. And then I posted it manually again, and I discovered this setting to click. There was a setting where like you used to be able to push, it wasn't the same as trial reels. It was really crazy. You used to be able to push out your content to non-followers. And I don't know if you remember that because you've been on Instagram for a long time. So there was this setting to tick off like show only to non-followers. And it was like a glitch in Instagram's algorithms where if you did that and you posted something that like was decently engaging, it would get far more views than it deserved. And like and so me and my friends, we were exploiting this for months until Instagram fixed it at the beginning of 2024, and we were growing like crazy. And so I found those two things around the same time, and that completely fixed a plateau. And then like after that point, I just was growing really steadily. But it took 3 months, and I had so many times where I almost gave up. I remember I started different Instagram accounts in that time. I started like, I'm going to try all these different things. And it was just like, people hit plateaus and then they have to F around and figure out like what works and what doesn't, which is why I asked you, what are some of the mistakes that you made? Because I know the mistakes that I made. I made all these mistakes. I could have gotten to where I wanted to be so much faster. So, all right, that's my rant at the end of the podcast. Blaze, thanks again for coming on. Check her out at Blaze Lloyd on Instagram.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, at Plays Lloyd. And your links will also be in the description. Episode 631. Everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. I will talk to you again tomorrow. Bye now.